You're a speaker and you want to introduce a story to your audience. What you don't do is say, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to tell you a story. Don't do that. Just introduce the story in a very natural way. I tell, amongst other stories, historical stories taken from real life. And I'd like to do the first few lines of 3 of those stories now. On the night of the 4th of June, 1969, the South China Sea was glassy smooth, and a full moon shone down upon the surface of that sea, turning it into a burnished silver. And on the surface of that sea was a fleet of ships, warships, playing war games. That's the introduction to a story I call The Hoodoo Ship, which deals in brief of the history of HMAS Melbourne, the unfortunate aircraft carrier, which sank in its lifetime 2 destroyers by accident. Another presentation starts like this. They brought the blue metal from Shell Harbour to make the Sydney railways. They brought those huge pre-cut granite blocks from the south coast to make the Sydney Harbour Bridge. They brought black diamonds, the so-called smokeless coal from the Illawarra, which fed the furnaces, the powerhouses, the gasworks, the boilers of the big ships. For 100 years they plied the coast, and then they were gone. Superseded, obsolete, of no further use. These were the 60-milers. So that's the introduction to a story called The 60-milers, which deals with the coal ships, which brought the coal from Newcastle, Hexham, the coal fields and also the coal fields of the Illawarra. So that's the introduction to a particular story about the sinking of a ship called the Birchgrove Park. And the final story, which I've told probably a couple of 100 times to audiences all over the place, starts like this. Way down south, right down towards the bottom of the world, below the roaring 40s, in that belt of latitude known as the Furious 50s, where the wind howls, across 10,000 miles of pack ice. There is an island just 23 miles long and only 3 miles wide. A long slither of rock which pokes above the surface of the sea. So there's the introduction to 3 different stories. That one's called Macquarie Island and deals with the early history, discovery of Macquarie Island and the sealing gangs which exploited the wildlife of that island. But if you haven't got rehearsed introductions, then come up with some. Because those first few words are so important to get your audience focused on what you are going to reveal to them. Everybody loves a story. They love it. And once you've got them hooked, they're disappointed if you don't complete that story right to the end. But if all else fails, and I've done this many times, not when all else has failed, but certainly just to get some humour right at the beginning. I just say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a storyteller. And what do storytellers do? And someone in the audience will say, tell the stories. And then I say, once upon a time, a long time ago in a land far away. That always gets a laugh because the audience know that they're being treated in a jocular way back to their own childhood when so many stories started that way. So, and that's a filler word, so don't use it. When you are opening your story, make sure you have something which is really gripping, because stories really do make the speech. They carry the real message. And the opening of the story, each story you tell, so very important.